right, welcome to this week's What the Bar Talk. Let's go.
Dude, great intro, man.
Thanks. Let me turn off the yeah, that.
Were you
Hey,
using
Frederick.
we're using a reset signal there to at the beginning to keep restarting it, or
No, what I was doing is okay, so let me show you what I was doing. I had my drum muted so that you didn't hear too much drum, and I just turned on the Mega Drone, and I started out with just one little oscillator doing its thing because it just sounds so cool when you bring in that, like, hold on, get in tune, buddy. There we go. That part, yeah, I just love that. But once I had some drone going, I hit play, which is sending a signal to an attack or an envelope generator to go to the Cockpit 2, which is my brand new baby toy, and it is the best. So I was just doing that.
okay.
Yeah. So it's all Cockpit 2, which is pretty cool. It's 4-channel stereo mixer with not really compression, but it is ducking a bit, and you can control which channels it does the ducking on. So it's not doing it on all the channels, but yeah. So that's what's happening there. Love it.
Very nice.
Playing with the Mega Drone. All y'all got me in the drone mood the other day when I was listening to the Drone Stream Train replays. Yeah, so let's get to it. So Bartok, the master of cables, asked me right before the show a really good question. Do you want to just ask again, and then we can get into it?
Yeah, so what kicked it off is I heard something that you played that, bounced back and forth between my left and right channels. So my question was, I want to talk about stereo and how to achieve the effect with modulars and different modules, and what do you do, and how do you what do you need to get to make it sound where if you were doing a live show or something, people could tell that there's some sound coming from the right speaker, so then it's bouncing over to the left. And I try to do stuff, and I never know if it's actually working. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the key with stereo, well, there's a few things. You can use it for a variety of different stuff. And I've played with a lot of it at this point because I now have some stereo modules and I've been basically experimenting a little bit. But for this particular effect, it's very basic. It's like and that's all the iCurry. It is a stereo filter, but what I'm doing is I'm sending a single sound source into the left mono input, and then I'm pulling the sound out of both the left and the right output, and I've got the stereo spread on it, so it's actually spreading out where the filter is hitting each ear, and that gives you that stereo effect on that particular voice. So that one's a little bit cheating.
Okay, yeah, but it works.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have two sound sources going into it. You just have one in the input, and then from there it splits it and it cheats, but it creates a stereo effect. And then where do you have those outputs then going?
Yeah, so before a few days ago, I finally got that Cockpit 2, which is the Endorphins stereo compression mixer module. Before that, I had it just going into my mixer into the left and right channels of one of the, I don't know, one of the columns. I guess I don't even know how to talk about mixers. But now I've got it going into the endorphins left and right, and the endorphins then going into the mixer. But there are some things I've noted when playing with stereo that sort of messed me up a little bit. One, One of the first things I tried when I got the iCurry was putting in like I wanted to send both my sub voice, so that tends to be two oscillators, so that when I detune it gets really gnarly. And one is pitched higher than the other one just to add a little bit more distortion to it or phase cancellation, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But when I did that through the iCurry, so I put one in each channel of the iCurry, and this would be the same with any sort of stereo mix. I no longer want to have one at a higher pitch. Like I'll keep them both in the same octave range, and it sounds really fat on headphones, which is awesome. But when I have my speakers set up, really, it's not super noticeable, and I don't love it. So I just sort of like the sound better when I had basically the voices combined and canceling each other out a little bit. And then the iCurry is spreading them out. So that's one thing I tried that I liked a little bit better. So that's what's going on in, or that was what was going on in the iCurry. Right now I have the iCurry on a different setup, but yeah. But stereo I think is hard. Like I think to really hear it, you've got to have like very clear, like it can't be subtle. Like when it's subtle, you can feel like the widening of the space a little bit, but like ping pong delays are where it's at on particularly notable voices. So like I tend to do it on higher pitched ranges, so
Right.
that kind of stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It's
So
good. Yeah.
I've been trying to think of how I can do that because I use the Bafaco Hex Mix,
Yeah.
and that has panning on each channel, and then it also with the Hexpander I have a left and right output.
Right.
But in my head, if I'm using an effects module that does stereo, but then I'm bringing those two into one output, then I'm kind of killing that effect, right? Like, so I would need to send a left into channel 1 on the
Yes.
hex mix, the right into channel 2, and
Yes.
as soon as I do that, then I've already, I'm dedicating two outputs to one voice.
And that's the thing. It requires twice as many cables, twice as many everything, right? And yeah, you need to hard pan them left and right. You don't have to hard pan them if you want the softer mix, but I don't know. I never do anything sort of subtle, so I would
Right.
hard pan them, and that'll get you where you need to be. I think it's a stinker because it takes up so many channels.
Right.
And it's something I'd been avoiding for a while too because I didn't want to use. Like it took me a long time to have enough VCA mixers that I'm not stretched for channels at this point, at least on my modular.
Right. But it seems like the cockpit kind of does that without you needing that many to utilize that many inputs. Is that right?
Yeah. So okay. So the way the cockpit 2 is set up, I both love and don't love a little bit, but it's 4 stereo inputs, so TRS. And it does come with like actually let's get the box because it's pretty cool. Where'd I put it? Comes with this pretty fancy airplane box. Let's see, get that right in front of there. The cockpit squared. But it does come with like a splitter cable, so I guess it's not even out of the bag because I have my own, but two mono on this end and then a stereo on this end. So when you're using it with the cockpit 2, you actually do need like a stereo cable to go between this and then like adapter like these. Maybe they plug into the module or not, but I don't love that part of the setup. I almost wish it was slightly bigger with 2 inputs per 2 mono inputs per stereo channel, and you can configure it too. Oh, my mixer is the Zoom L12 Frederick, and it rules. I might get a smaller one too. sorry, side note. What was I gonna say? Oh, it's configurable on the back, so when you pull it out, and I'm not gonna do this because it's a pain
Right.
for me because the ribbon cable I just can't. My hand's too fat to reach, so I have to take maths out to get the cable for the anyway. It's a pain. But there's little jumpers to configure each channel set. So you can say, I want channel 1 to be mono, I want channel 2 to be stereo, channel 3 mono, channel 4 stereo. So you can convert them that way. So they don't have to be stereo inputs. And and yeah, please Zha Zha Ding Dong. I don't even know Zha Zha Ding Dong. Hey Schmooster. I think the link's still the same, so if you feel like popping in Schmooster, just do it. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so it's a little janky with cables. Like I started looking for like efficient ways to get these from stereo to mono, because right now it's HOSA dongle to stereo cable. Anyway, it's
Right.
all right. So I don't love that aspect of it, but it's a compression module. It's exactly what I want. It's compact. It means that in a pinch, I have all of the mixers I need for a live setup on here.
Right.
Uh, if someone allows me to blow up their speakers. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I got it. And when I build another case, like I've been talking a little bit about building a Eurorack specific case about the same dimensions as one of these. One of these cases, not the whole thing, because I don't have that much money. It's just going to be an empty Eurorack case for a long time. But when I do that, I want something like the Hex Mix, or rather, I want a module. Let me adjust something. I want a module that lets me. Like, I just want CV input on a pan. Like, I want to be able to put in a left and a right on a channel, and then CV input on the pan.
Yeah.
Because I want to automate that stuff, so I have my own like weird stuff happening. Like, essentially, what is built into the iCurry is so sick, but I would love it as either its own module or part of a VCA mixer or something.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so I still don't have stereo figured out in terms of modular. With some other things, it's kind of nice, phasers and stuff like that, and chorus. Yeah, I do want a phaser module. I don't think there's enough phasers in modular, so weapons mass destruction axis. All right, I'll take recommendations. My other agenda today was maybe to go shopping. Not necessarily buy anything. Axis. Let's see. What am I looking
Yeah,
at?
and the other one, and Robbie mentioned the WMD Performance Mixer. He says that one has TV panning. The Hex Mix does not.
Yeah, I know the Hex. I took a look at it. Yeah, I know the performance mixer is there. It just feels like I have to look into it more to know if I want to like it or not. It feels like a lot, but not necessarily the price. I think the price is exactly spot on for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a full-fledged mixer, but yeah, I just need to learn more about it. And I never like to spend time learning about mixers. Like, it's I don't know. It's not as exciting as like a filter, I guess.
Right. Right, but it's one of those things where a lot of people don't really look into. Even if you were just getting a 4:1 or a 6x mixer or something small, it gets overlooked a lot, and then you end up with all of these modules, and you have let's say 10 outputs, and you've only got one little output module. So they're definitely important,
Yeah.
whether you go with something big like the performance mixer or the hex mix.
And to be clear, the performance mixer is pretty small for what it is. It's very compact for a mixer.
Yeah, but you fall into that concern that it's still big as far as how much HP space it is. And when you're starting out, when you're looking at filling a rack, dedicating I don't know how many HP it is, but dedicating that much
Yeah.
space to like a mixer just sounds daunting and kind of scary. Smoosher brought up some really good ones. We had actually talked about these on the Discord. Is the Chaos Praga, and I don't know how to pronounce the HRAD, HRAD.
Chaos.
That combination would be really good too, and I think there are only 4 channels.
Is the HRAD also chaos, or is chaos
Yeah, it's also Chaos.
Okay. I'll have to look that up after.
It's an expander for the Praga.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. And then there's the Qubit. I like Qubit. I only have one module, and I only have looked thoroughly at a couple of their modules. But let's see what they've got. Mixology. Oh, mixed drinks. All right. Cool. Yeah, that one's got some cool stuff in it. And there's a pan CV input. It's 4 stereo. Yeah, that one's pretty rad. That might fit the bill. I'll compare some stuff, but yeah, that might be the thing. Let me actually share that. I think I can do that. Let's see here. Share. Oh. I guess not. Not yet anyway. I basically would have to restart. I think. Yeah, later. The browser, and I'm not going to do that mid-show. So, we'll just have to imagine a beautiful Qubit mixer. Here's the link for those. Following along. Yeah, I do think mixer is the thing that I would love to see more compact and better. Like the L12 is actually pretty rad. But I think in order to start prepping for the fabled in-person show, I need to reduce the amount of gear I'm taking. So I'm actually I've been starting to migrate things into the mixers I have here. So the instruments I think I'll bring, I'm plugging into here to lighten the load on that mixer, so there's just one out coming out of here for all of my instruments. That would be the ideal, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
Qubit Synapse. And 4MS Listen 4. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a lot of tabs open. This is great. Y'all know every module. 4MS. I like 4MS only because there's that one LFO that looks super sweet that I would never buy. But I love them for that module anyway. Because I don't need more LFOs, is the short answer there. Yeah, so that's cool. I want to keep talking about stereo just a little bit. Like some of the artists I've been listening to in a specific genre of electronic music that I don't even know what to call, have been using stereo pretty heavily. So they use it in a few ways. One is to sort of give you that circling effect. So if you've got an ARP going, having a slower left and right panning of the ARP.
Yeah.
And there's an artist, I don't know how to pronounce their name, but Helen Vogelsinger. I'm just going to share copy link. I'm going to share that in the chat just because it is an awesome album. But her and Colin Benders often does some things like that. I think they're beyond the obvious panning. They're doing a lot of things with space. So multiple oscillators, maybe one is slightly out of sync with the other to give you a bigger space, that kind of thing, or even just different sounds. So that's something I've been wanting to experiment and just get a better feel for. The ZI-10. Yeah, the L12 rules, man. I cannot sing its praises enough. It is digital, which means it ruins all of my analog probably, but it's fine. I can't tell the difference. So and I'm streaming, so who cares? It's fine. Yeah, I love it.
There was also Frank Martin. He just recently released a quadraphonic album.
Quadraphonic, yeah, that's a whole new level of. I don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't even get stereo done.
Like, I think quadraphonic and beyond, decaphonic would be sick, 10. But I feel like that needs to be in person to me.
Oh yeah,
Like, obviously, headphones aren't going to do the trick no matter how many speakers they cram into these things. But actually, you know what?
You have to wear 2 pairs of headphones.
That's not even it. There's spatial. There's headphones coming out that are sort of spatially aware, or there's apps that are starting to experiment with that, where you can like essentially get the effect of having 2 speakers and moving your head around. So like when you're right in the middle, you get a little phase cancellation and stuff like that. So maybe something like that could mimic the quadraphonic without having to have 4 speakers and a weird mixer and a weird way to play it all back and all that stuff. But I'm not there yet. Hey, Antone.
Yeah. Hey, Antone.
Welcome, y'all. It's the first ever What the Bar Talk this week. What the heck is canceled forever? Yeah, and yeah, octophonic. Yeah, the more prefixes or numbers for the prefix that we add, the cooler it's going to get. I was actually really one of the things I love daydreaming about a little bit is Sam Battle from Locomotive No Computer talked about when he made the Mega Drone and its 10 channels having 10 speakers, 1 on each channel, and just like walking around the room with that drone going. That just seems really super cool to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is What the Bar Talk or Want to Buy. So we're going to go shopping today, I think, a little bit. We already are talking about mixers. Bar Talk, what do you want? What module are you lusting after, or what type of module, rather?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I was looking to just fill out. I've got a few gaps left. And I've been considering either some Logics. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Or just maybe a little sampler that I can play around with. I don't have anything like that, so I was looking at the Music Thing modular, the radio music. Just something that I can add a little color here and there. But I've been trying to kind of stay away because I really want to just get comfortable with what I have. And I also don't have that much room left. So I need to be selective. And I worry that I'm going to start looking at like the Piston Honda that's been on my list since day one, I think, and I've just never gotten it. But in this iteration, if I do that, then I have to really change what I'm doing. So I'm not shopping right now, but you might get me shopping.
Okay, yeah, those are all cool things. I'm sort of in a similar boat. Like, I haven't purchased anything new in a long time. I guess since the Cockpit 2, which I ordered in like 2.5 months ago or something. And I gotta say, like, I haven't felt the need to purchase more things. Like, yeah, I'm lusting after lots of modules and synths and stuff like that, but I don't feel the need to get it right now, which is a great spot to be in because, like, learning what I have deeper is great. And also there's an added benefit of, like, installation time costs. Like, the Cockpit 2 it's really just like you flip a couple things on the back and you plug it in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also means I have to rethink my entire output system. Like,
right.
Like, I have to rethink everything I'm doing and then keep experimenting with that. And that was not low. Like, that probably took me an hour for absolutely no real gain.
Yeah. Well, it's no I mean, there is a real gain, but it's nothing discernible where, throwing a new filter, it's obvious what
Yes.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also, probably not happening, but I'm already daydreaming about converting the Cockpit 2 into a Cosmo module. Not necessarily like rebuilding the whole thing, but maybe throwing some quarter-inch jacks and a new panel for it. Because it's one that I want to interact with. It's a mixer, right? Like I'm constantly mixing stuff. And where it's located is like right at the nexus of all of these cables here. So like to get in there and like turn a knob is already kind of a little annoying. But to
Right.
turn the right knob, I constantly am turning the wrong one or meeting like turning the compression off the wrong one, or like that kind of stuff constantly. So I just got to get used to it, I think.
Or you need taller knobs.
Taller knobs. Well, let's look at it.
You get like some extensions on them.
Yeah, I could go that route, but I don't think that's really the problem as much as because I'm standing up at this exact angle.
Right.
A lot of the time, I can barely see the LEDs. Like I can tell they're lit, but not necessarily which LED corresponds to which knob. Which isn't a flaw in their design. It's just where I put it.
Right. It just happens to be where it's landed on the system.
Yeah, and so that again needs more iteration and things like that. So
Yeah. Which you could try to address with some cable management on some zip ties that you can move around, or like the Velcro ones, so it's not fixed.
I mean, I've got the Velcro ones, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really. Do they make compressors in modular? Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Antone.
Yeah. I use the WMD muscle or MSCL.
Yeah, and so there's like the ducking compressor modules, but there's also there's a handful of like more like limiting compressors and more like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm stoked to have this compressor on everything. Like figuring out which ones to turn on and off. I got some work to do on that, but I love it. I love that silly pulse.
Yeah. And here we have some good ones on the chat. MI Streams. Disting, has one of the modes as a compressor, which I actually used for the longest time before I just got the WMD one. And that's a good thing about the disting, right? Like, I see it as a Swiss Army knife module where it's good to say, okay, what am I missing, or what I would like to have, and then see if the disting has that feature. Then that way you can kind of play with it and then see, okay, I really do like this, but I wish I had more CV control or a few more options, and then you can go look for a dedicated module that fits that spot.
That's cool. Here's a question for all you disting users. Are you regularly changing its function, or do you just sort of set it as one function and that's the type of module it is for a good amount of time?
Yeah, we'll see what they say in the chat, but I use it that way. I use it to be like, okay, I need this tool, I don't have it, but the disting will let me kind of play with a version of it, and that's, like I said, the compressor was a great example of that, because then I said, okay, you know what, I really want a dedicated module for this, and then at that point it'll become something else.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I use it. It's where I find a gap in my system, the disting can fill that, and it stays. So I don't really go around playing with it.
Cool. And DB Pollen saying they only use 4 or 5 functions in disting, and I think that sort of makes sense. Like I have scrolled through that monumental list of things it can do, and I would say, yeah, that makes sense to me. Like you just can't. I just don't think it's likely to try to use everything in there or even remember everything in there.
Yeah, I think I have cheat sheets for that kind of stuff,
was that just a huge thick disting manual?
No, this one's a mix. This one's a mix of of different ones. I have the FX aid,
Yeah.
which has very similar again. Just a ton of different. So I have little cheat sheets and I highlight the specific ones that I like and I can jump to easily.
Right. So there's like the disting, the FX aid, and I think Ornaments in Crime is another big one.
Yeah.
I've never looked more than 2 seconds at the Ornaments in Crime, but Antone's asking Ornaments in Crime versus disting, and that's gonna have to be either you or the chat to answer that.
So
Where's Benjamin?
I have both, and I would say the disting just because I liked its workflow a little better. The Ornaments in Crime I found just really awkward to switch around and make the selections. Like you got to either turn the knob or click a couple times, and I just never really found my groove with that module, and it's in my pile of my misfit modules. So for me, I just like the disting, and that's because it was maybe the guides I found, like my cheat sheets. I didn't really find helpful ones for Ornaments and Crimes, at least compared to what was available for disting. So it made it easier just to use that.
Holy cow, DB Polon has 3 of each, sort of, because the disting EX can count as 2 separate ones. DV, do you want to hop on and talk disting, or do you want to just keep it in the chat? Either way is cool. Let me know.
Yeah, both of those, I don't really even use that much, and I guess it comes down to the menu diving. That's just one thing what I don't like dealing with. So if you don't mind that, then it might work for you, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think how Woke, if I remember right, Woke has some disting. Yeah, Woke has some distings, and just sort of leaves them as one, like just leaves them as whatever function that makes sense, as, and that's just what they are. So
Yeah.
they're now that specific module, and I think that's the same. At least that's the way I would probably use it, just because I don't change my patch all that often, at least not that dramatically. So yeah. And they're pretty small. What are they, like 4 HP or something? Maybe 6.
Yeah, mine's not even on here anymore.
All right. Oh, all right. Let me send you that link. Hold on. Invite, copy. There you go. There's the link. You know what to do.
Yeah, jump in here.
Yeah, plenty of room.
Have someone that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, I very much don't. That's why this is what the bar talk now. Yeah, I don't know. You mentioned samplers earlier too, and I think sampler is like, it's like almost like a wild goose chase, or like trying to get the golden egg or something. Like it's something that no one has. I don't know. Maybe very few people have found the sampler that jives with them, that does what they want. Like samplers, like I've got one that's pretty good, but
I saw a video where they had like actual radio recordings that you can get, like the old recordings for free.
yeah,
And they actually made it sound like you're switching radio stations, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like I'll build one just for that effect. But yeah, I'm not looking to do what a lot of other people do with sampling stuff and either freezing it or being able to rewind it and loop it and that stuff. Something really simple where I can just switch to different files that are being played and make it sound like I'm tuning into some weird frequency or something.
Totally. So, you kid MD stuff. Oh, they're talking about something else. Muted. Okay, there we go. Cool. You are unmuted now. Welcome, DV Pollen.
Hey, I don't have a camera on now. No camera.
Come on, camera. You can do it. I believe in you, little glass buddy.
Your 3 little dots right now.
Yeah, so how do I get my camera working? I got 2 cameras working right now.
Well, there's a little settings menu that has a gear icon, and you can select it there if it's not popping up. Boom!
There we go. We got to pick. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Welcome, DV Pollen, everybody.
How you doing? I was actually just, I was kidding about, ensemble. Just messing around with different modulation ensemble, but that's no problem. Yeah. Disting. Damn.
Well, hold on. You just went into like Morphogene mode. Like there was multiple versions of you talking at the same time. It was pretty cool.
Wish I could do that on purpose. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so disting, what are you using it for?
So originally when I got the Disting Mark III to begin with, and that thing was just total shit in terms of menu. I mean, you think the Mark IV is bad. The Mark III with those 6 little dots and you got to push this button twice to get, that was ridiculous. But when the 4 came out, yeah, it's cool now, especially since it scrolls the name of the algorithm. So I originally started using Disting as my primary quantizer. Actually, that's why I bought it. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's got a good quantizer.
It does, and now with the Mark IV, you can actually see what note it's quantizing to on the display, right? So that's kind of cool. And then also, I think the most popular function was using it as an adder. It was just a really cool 4HP adder. And then I started, hearing people say that the tape delay was good, and it is pretty good. And then, just what I tried to do, I'm like Bartok here. I got the whole cheat sheets. I mean, I got like 3 or 4 versions of them. Every time I print one of those out, and I put it in a nice. See, here's one of my cheat sheets, right? So I put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put a nice little plastic thing, and the next week some asshole, says, "Oh, I got a new one coming out with the new algorithms," and now I have to reprint it. So that's already outdated, and I printed it a couple of weeks ago. But so I was just messing around with it, and I tried to go through as many algorithms as I can just to see what works well and what doesn't. Because I have like a little skiff that I built, a 104 HP skiff.
Yeah.
I mean, you put a disting in there, you just put in just about any module you're going to need, right? So I'm trying to go through all the ones to see which ones I can actually use and work. And the vocoder is actually really cool. I came across that one.
The vocoder. So are you using it as a vocoder, or are you like piping other audio into it?
No. So I got like the the Doepfer A171, I guess, which so I hook up a mic, just a Shure SM58, and I got that running into the disting, and I've done a couple streams on EMS with it. It works really well.
That's so rad.
Yeah.
Vocoders are one of those things that I just am drawn to. Like I have 2 right in front of me, and I never use. I still love them to death. But
the one thing that Andrew Osler put in this latest version of the firmware is the looping, or not. It's not looping. It's the wave recording function. So you can run your rack into the disting, and it'll record, on the fly what you're playing, right? And you could do that from before, but then you'd have to go back into the card and you'd have to manually change the config file so it would find that file and read it so you can play that sample back. But now it does that automatically, so you can actually use it as a looper.
Oh, cool. That's pretty rad.
It is pretty neat. So you can record onto it and immediately have it play back that loop. So
See, that's the module that keeps on giving, right
yeah,
there.
it does. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
why you look at the used prices; they don't go down. I mean, they're still 160. I've seen as the cheapest used. I think. Yeah.
Which is a fantastic deal still.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Considering what you're getting,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's very low cost for a module. Yeah,
But
totally.
I built a little MIDI expander for it, so now I can have MIDI in and out into my rack with that. It does everything really.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have a question on for the disting is, can you actually pick in specific individual notes?
You mean like masking?
So like instead of it running through a scale, can you pick the specific notes that you would want it to quantize?
Yeah, masking. I don't think you can natively with just the general quantizer, but I know on the Disting EX, he does have it so that you can upload Scala scales, which are basically user scales. And I don't know if you can do that on Disting Mark IV, but you can upload user scales into the EX.
Do the user scales include like octave ranges? Like, so you could say everything needs to be within these 3 octaves or something?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. No, I've never done that. It doesn't do masking on the fly. You can't say I want a C major chord, but I want to leave out, I want to leave out the
Yeah.
E or something like that. You can't. Yeah. Yeah.
So could you trick it though by just doing some sample and hold combination with something else and have it skip the notes you don't want?
Well, it can act as a sample and hold. It basically acts as a sample and hold when it quantizes, right? So when you send in like an LFO or something, it's only going to quantize it to those notes that are in the scale that you pick. So, but it's not I don't know if does it have a trigger? I need to check. If it has a trigger, then you can use it as a traditional sample and hold. Quantizer, scale, select, voltage input. Yeah, it does have a trigger. And you can also use that trigger to transpose. So it has a transpose mode as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can have it so that, you can play something through it and it'll only quantize when you have it triggered to quantize. So if you send in, a sample and hold, variable signal and hit the trigger, it'll quantize it to whatever you hit that trigger at. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
It's
on my list.
I was joking with Oz. I told him, hey, look, you're running out of letter number combos here. I mean, you're at, what's he at? He's at J8. He's on K and now. So
Oh my gosh.
pretty soon he's going to go through the whole alphabet. He says he's almost saturated the output of it, the processing power, with all and that's what his limitation is right now, basically. But he's still looking. I know we were talking about him adding a logic function in there. What is that? Not from my side.
That's my side, sorry.
Yeah. So there's still some things he wants to add.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But he's pushed it almost to the limit. That's crazy cool.
Yeah, it's really almost at the limit now. I mean, and the
Time for Mark 5.
But I would suggest if anybody is serious and they really want a disting, just save up, get the Disting EX. I mean, you got 2 of them for less than the price of 2 separate Mark IVs. Plus the processing power is like quadruple of what the Disting Mark IV is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it need to be okay.
Plus the multi-sampling on it's just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
We should.
I come in late. What else you guys been talking about?
We were talking about. Let's see. What do we start off with? Stereo. Yeah. What have you been up to in stereo land? Pollen.
I got 2 outputs.
I've been messing with stereo a lot with some new modules, but in very minor ways in my tracks.
So are you saying a stereo versus just sending out a mono from your rack?
Yeah, like the default is mono because it's simpler. You need half as many inputs and
Yeah.
outputs and all of that. So have you been do you mess with stereo too much?
Yeah, so I did a set last night actually on what was it, resonance frequencies in the Bay Area, and
Okay.
it was really stereo pan. I mean, it was seriously. I had the snare over here, I had the kick drum center, I had rhythm over here. It was and with a WD mixer, you can send in a nice slow LFO into the pan inputs on each channel and have it pan across the stereo field, which is a really cool effect. Uh,
Yeah.
so I use stereo by default pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we were talking about the various modules to enable stereo, and like one of the requests I had, like one of the things I'm looking for at some point when I build a more Eurorack centric case, is a mixer that lets me control panning with CV, and the WMD performance mixer is probably like the
Yeah.
coolest you can get. Yeah.
I've heard good things about the Happy Nerding scan mix too, or scan pan, I think is what it's called. Yeah, that's supposed to be pretty good.
Scan pan. Yeah, I'm just creating a huge shopping list of potential modules, so that's great. I'll take a look at that later because I can't share my screen right now. Yeah, so that's what we were chatting about for a while. Yeah, I hardly ever touch stereo for the most part, though. Like, it's totally new to me. Like, I understand how to implement it, but at least as far as modular is concerned, it's been sort of like a module deficit that plays nicely with stereo, but with the Icary and the Data Bender and what's the other one? The Cockpit 2. I'm in like a little bit in stereo land.
Yeah, filters mostly are coming out in stereo now. Everything's going towards the stereo direction.
Yeah, I mean it's the
yeah, but if you don't have an output that handles that, then don't you lose it all?
Yeah, sure. You need a stereo mixer, sure. Yeah, or unless you take outs directly from your modular, but you'd have to have two separate mixers to do that, obviously.
Right,
Here's
and
a question. Oh, go
and
ahead.
that's kind of what was my questions of it is, yeah, we've got these stereo modules, we have these, but if you don't have the correct output module to handle all of that, which, if I add just one stereo module, then I take two outs of going into my mixer already just for that voice. So when I start looking at really getting stereo, then I'm having to, double up all of my outputs right now. And I'm using everything on the hex mix. So
yeah, no, you're right. You add a lot. You have to add a lot of space to your rack to account for it. That's true.
Yeah.
It's WMD mixer. I mean, you guys have seen this, right? This thing is. I mean, it's not small. Let me see if I can.
I mean, it's a tiny mixer if you're looking at like desk mixers, but as far as modules go, it's huge.
Yeah, and this is not even including the expander, right? For another channels. But yeah, I mean, this right here, these are all the pans. So each channel is pan, and these 7 and 8 right here are stereo. So left and right, but they're hard. Obviously, the hard pan left and right.
Yeah.
But yeah, this panning, I mean, is really, very, really neat, and the built-in VCAs as well, of course. I use this panning a lot, though.
That's rad. Yeah, that's something I would love to be able to do, especially on how do I do this thing? Especially on like ARPs and stuff like that. I would love to get some slow stereo pans on ARPs.
Yeah. And with delays, if you can time your delays with the dry signal going in one speaker and then the delays cascading across with an envelope, really cool.
Yeah. I was just gonna say the same thing. Even with delays, that's where I love the stereo.
Yeah. It works really well. It's true. Yeah. But I mean, I have some friends. Frank Martin, for example, he's going into quad. I mean, geez, I just barely got into stereo. He's already going into quad. I can't imagine doing that. That would be ridiculous.
Who has that many cables?
Yeah, just keeping track of everything. Everything's gonna go right.
Yeah. Yeah, and figuring out like how to best utilize it, right? Like if you're only you, you need four slightly different sounding things, whether that's panning or like
Yeah,
different audio input. Like it's just
yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you have a setup with a lot of stereo modules and you don't have a stereo mixer, I mean, theoretically, you can take the separate outs from everything into an external mixer, right? I actually did that in quad a couple of years ago. I mean, there was a quad setup, but I just took the outputs from directly from my rack into an external mixer, and they're the ones who kind of encoded it to do quad things. That was really cool. But I wouldn't do quad in my rack. That would be ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, Anton saying quad sounds amazing. Maybe in a few years when we all have setups that are too big.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know about that. Like, here's a question I have: is I've been watching some videos on like quick setups for live performance and things like that, and one of the dudes was like, "Oh yeah, I don't do stereo. I just put everything mono, even if it was stereo to begin with, because like you can't tell the difference out on the dance floor or whatever." And like, is there truth to that? Like, would you have hard panning if you're doing something like a set live?
Well, Mylar Melodies, I think he still says he does everything mono. And he
Yeah.
doesn't do stereo from what I remember. So,
Like,
and
I
he has,
think, I mean, that makes sense to me because I think if you're like at a bunch of concerts, like if you're anywhere near one side or the other, you're only going to hear that one side because there's a wall of speakers in front of your face that's just hitting that right channel or whatever.
pretty much.
Yeah, but I've been at some shows where they've done it, and you can absolutely hear it. I guess it just depends on the PA system, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard it done, and you can tell.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think if
Yeah.
you're doing like a hard hitting techno set or something, I think mono, you can get away with mono pretty well. But yeah, to Bartok's point, if you're doing like an ambient set or something, you really need that stereo field to be able to pan everything around and acoustically, set your space. So
Yeah, if I'm doing floor to the floor, like stereo doesn't matter too much. But like, if,
Right.
like you said, if I've got like a drone going and like some sparkly arps circling,
Right.
that's where quadraphonic and stuff comes in really nicely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But,
I'm just skimming through the chat. Speakers are distributed
Yeah, me too.
everywhere you want to do mono to avoid weird phase cancellation. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, so that's something I'm going to consider. So if it's a situation like if I am playing live and there's a lot of speakers everywhere, just full mono, just take that one output, super simple. Yeah. I'd be bummed out though because I've done a little bit of stereo fun stuff, but yeah. What else?
Right, that's the other thing. You go through all the work of doing something in the stereo, and nobody tells.
Yeah, that's why I think stereo needs to be pretty obvious unless you're using it to like fatten up a bass or something. But
Yeah.
the stage setup really answers this one. Yeah, so it depends on the stage setup. Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah, but then it's out of your hands. If you though are set up to possibly do some stereo effects, and then you go to a place that can handle it, then it's even better than, at least you have that opportunity.
Maybe so. Yeah. Right now, like, my place isn't set up to have stereo. Like outside of my headphones, like these two speakers, like they live in boxes, which is not a great place for speakers. One, and two. Like I know it's bad, but I don't use them that often anyway. But like even when I do have some stereo stuff, it doesn't have the same hit as like wearing very very clearly separated headphones. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope those speakers have forward firing bass, or are the bass like stuck in the back?
Hold on just a second. I got to put this down to get my bass. They have exactly as much bass as you can imagine speakers in a little box. But I've got a bass backpack, so it makes up for it.
Oh. Yeah, that works. Nobody can hear it on online though.
No, but my headphones do a pretty good job of like giving me a good idea, and yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I would love a bass, but like I use a lot of resonance and things, and my partner likes to not hear that all the time, so headphones.
There you go.
But I do love sub. I actually have another one of the newest one pre-ordered because I like it so much. It's so weird. It's so weird
A backpack.
to have. Well, yeah, because it's essentially like a subwoofer strapped to your back. So like you feel it in the chest, but like in the wrong ways, if it makes sense. Like your body's like, yeah, this isn't a subwoofer, but it's still really cool. Anyway.
What if it has like therapeutic benefits to it or something? Like increases your blood flow or something like that. You know?
It increases the odds that I'm going to rip a cable out of my mixer, is what it does. But it is awesome. I love it. But it's too weird. I just never stream with it.
Yeah.
Because there's a risk it's battery powered and I don't trust it, that it could just die and I wouldn't hear anything and I'd be like fumbling around trying to get my headset plugged into things. It's not reliable.
I mean, you can do the electronics thing. You can build a little crossover and then take out the bass signal and into a subwoofer or something, right? Or a separate speaker.
Yeah, I mean, I do have like other subwoofers in the house, and I could order a subwoofer that attaches really nicely to these the way they're supposed to be worked. But again, I'm mostly wearing headphones, so it's not worth the cost just yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe when I'm like, if I get serious, I'll pull these out of the boxes and like set them up properly so they're like speakers need air behind them. Who knew? But yeah, and I'll have some good sound up. But like I'm in a laundry room with like water pipes and so I don't care about that. It's only gonna sound as good as the heater.
True. That's true.
So yeah. That's my weird setup. Anyway, thanks for answering the questions or folks in chat and DB Pollen on stereo in person, because that was something I'd been really curious about. I didn't realize Mylar Melodies was also blasting mono, but that makes sense. And also I think simplifies setup time significantly. Like if I change my patch right now to pull out some of the stereo stuff, it would very much simplify what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, as Robbie says, all mono modules plus a stereo mixer, full stereo. Of course, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you don't have to have stereo in the rack. You can just take all your separate outs and feed it into somebody else's mixer.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I do like the stereo compressor, so at the very least, I'll keep it as a compressor, an 8-channel compressor. So just lots of dongles going in and out of that thing.
Oh yeah, Verbo Scan and Pan. I forgot about that one. That's good. Yeah.
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 Let's see. Let's read up. Sure. What's Shapeshifter? Someone tell me what Shapeshifter is.
Yeah, I don't know those.
Shapeshifter is IntelliJo's complex VCO module. It's got the little screen. I had one at one time. It was just too complicated for me.
Oh, yeah, not my thing.
Yeah.
I like my modules simple and button-like. One button per honk. Yeah.
You love the ensemble then. If you want a complex oscillator without any menus, it's just
The ensemble?
Formless ensemble. Oh yeah. Love that module.
That is come on, images. Oh, that is a beautiful looking module.
Oh, the ensemble's great. Really good.
Very cool. It's the wrong color from this setup, but my other setup I won't care at all.
Let's take
My
a magic
future
marker.
setup.
Take a magic marker. You can color any color you
Just
want.
magic marker, yeah. Or just black spray paint and try to remember what everything is.
I did that to my my Row Power 40, the little power module from Forum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was white, and every other module in my rack was black, and that was the only thing I discovered. So I just got some acrylic paint, and I just spray painted over the front panel. But then I realized the front panel is actually the heatsink.
Oh,
So,
you told us about this. That's crazy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I got a little copper heatsink that I used to have on my memory inside computer, and I had to put that on the front with some thermal paste, and it gets pretty
Yeah, I
warm.
remember we talked about it. It looks awesome. Like, it looks way better.
Oh yeah,
with that heatsink on it.
Kind of a what cyberpunk type of look to it, right? Yeah. What do you call steampunk look? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works pretty
Bartok,
well. That little radiator gets pretty warm.
Totally. Bartok, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. All right. I think
perfect for this kind of show, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've got an hour. Unless anyone has anything hot they want to talk about, I'm cool with calling it.
Bartok, I haven't seen you around recently. How you been doing?
Oh, been doing good. Yeah, I'm jumping in here and there. So I participated in the drone stream, and then I did one the other week. But yeah, one of the things I was going to bring up, but we're running out of time, is kind of like...
Oh, we can keep going. I got no time limit.
Well, it's just kind of like, burnout or taking a break. And every once in a while, I'll get to that point where I just feel like I need to step away, and not come sit in front of this every day and figure something out. So I think I've streamed once last week sometime, and right now I'm just feeling like I need a little break.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's a good point. I actually want to ask you about that, because I kind of have gotten to that point where it's like I almost don't look forward to getting in front of my rack anymore. Or it's like before, it used to be the first thing in the day, man, I want to get in front and do something. But now it's like, oh, jeez. So how do you get through it? I mean, you just push yourself through it, or you just step back and say, I'm not going to touch this for a week? And
yeah, I've kind of found you just stepping back and not trying to think about it, and you'll get back to it. And that's been my approach right now. Actually, before I joined EMS, I think I went a long time, at least 6 months or so of not doing anything. And finding EMS kind of brought me back into performing again and doing some live shows. But I think if you're feeling that way, the thing not to do is kind of beat yourself up and say, no, I got to do it, and I got to practice or come up with something, or else what's the point? I think the best thing to do is just focus on something else, anything else that you might be interested in, the other hobbies, and then you'll go back to it when you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Hey, right.
I mean, I was going to recommend that. Like, definitely don't push through it. I've done that in other, like for work and other things. Yeah. You need to step away. Like if you're not feeling it, step away. Yeah, that's the best advice. Go do something else.
Or you can go the more dangerous course of action and tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm just missing a bunch of modules. I'm going to go back into it.
Yeah, you either have to step away or double up the effort by buying more
modules. Yeah,
right.
That's the dangerous way.
Yeah, I mean that's the trick. Yeah. And yeah, keeping it fun. Like I did find there was 1 month where I did like a few shows like online, like the Freak Boutique and Colorado Modular and a few other things like that like I'm not getting paid. I can show up and make stuff up on the spot and be fine, but like I don't know. I felt like it was a job at one point, and I was like, all right, I'm not doing any more of these for a while.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
But yeah, just step away.
Yeah, I actually give
Nice.
classes on Thursday morning, and that kind of gets me into it because I'm forced to actually put a pass together and explain, the technique and everything, and that's okay. I mean, it kind of gets me going because I'm helping somebody else to do it, right? But
Yeah.
trying to get myself to actually do something for myself has just been a little tough. I'm 8 tracks through a 12-track album, and I just come to a wall. It's like, oh god, not
Oh
again.
no. Maybe it should be an 8-track album.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I've actually thought about that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like why 12? What's
I don't know. I just felt 12 was a good number, but you're probably right. Or I could do 4 more tracks, kind of the John Cage way, and just do just noise, different noise of the 4 tracks, right?
the last 4 tracks are an art piece where you just leave your phone on and recording and pretend you don't know that the phone is on and recording.
So, yeah, I'll get through it. I'll
Um,
get through it.
yeah, that's a hard place to be in. Like I get that way every time I try to like actually produce a track, like the last few minutes of it or a few seconds even. It's hard.
Yeah.
But what the heck does at least get me in front of the module once a week, for sure. Like I usually am there more than that, but like I have an excuse. Like usually the last few weeks on Wednesdays have been like pretty busy days. Like today was super slammed, so I didn't have time to do much prep. But Bar Talk got it covered because it's what the Bar Talk now. But like I just had a little fun, play with my patch a little bit.
yeah, and I think doing some of the New York Patchable Performers series, that for me has been a really good way of forcing myself to come up with something, but it's different because like I have a goal that somebody else assigned me, right? And I'm not trying to sit down and come up with something with the thinking of I need to create a new song, so what am I going to do? And you have that pressure on. And Patchable for Performers has been like, oh, just try this, and then I'm doing it as a fun way, and it forces me to learn my instrument better, and it gets me practicing with it.
Yeah.
I also over on the one I'm super excited about. Like I like having parameters because they are instant inspiration in a direction that I may not have gone. And over on the DivKid Discord, I think StuJ or somebody started like this weekend patch channel or something like that, where it's a similar thing, but it's like, here's a set of parameters, go patch something cool this weekend, like that kind of stuff. And I'm totally into that. I'm going to try that this weekend.
Huh.
Last weekend, I did not. I was nowhere near my modular. I went and had some crawfish, which is probably the first good seafood I've had in Colorado in over a year.
Crawfish in Colorado, huh?
Yeah, one of my friends had a crawfish boil, and like she and her family from Louisiana, until COVID-19, they had one every year and invited a lot of people. And finally, it was back this year. Everyone was vaccinated, so we went and ate some food. Really lucky on that one.
I was in Denver a couple weeks ago, and a client wanted to have lunch in a sushi restaurant, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm in the middle of the U.S. and I'm going to have sushi.
Was it Sushi Den?
It was okay. It was okay. It was in Boulder. It was a cute little Japanese restaurant in Boulder. It was nice. It was okay.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's one that I like in Boulder. It's a small one, and next to it is a little noodles place. But it's not like. Was that?
I think that's the one I went to. There's a noodle place next to it.
Oh yeah, you went to the best place in Boulder then.
Okay. I had to pay for it, so it probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nothing compared to like other sushi I've had.
So you walk into the sushi place, and right now they got that big stuffed animal there with a mask on. Evilly the from Spirited Away. Yeah, that was the place I went. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I haven't been there since. I mean, that creature didn't have a mask when I was last there, but I think we're talking about the same place. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right,
Wait,
let's check the chat. Man, this is getting me hungry. We are spoiled for good.
Where are you located at?
I'm in LA.
Oh, you're in LA. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know good sushi and
Oh,
lots
yeah.
of other good food.
Yeah. Like Robbie said, we're spoiled.
Like
Yeah.
sushi, burritos, any number. Well, I mean, I would be going for tacos and burritos and stuff because I love that. But
Oh, anything. I mean, pick a nationality and there's
yeah,
a center for it.
it's great.
Yeah.
Not in Colorado. We don't. We have some, but it's. All right.
Barbecue, right, in downtown Denver. Is that still there?
Which barbecue?
Isn't it called Dinosaur Barbecue?
I don't know. I haven't heard of Dinosaur Barbecue. There is a barbecue place that my friend was talking about that's apparently really good, but I don't know yet. And there's one in Winter Park actually that's pretty good. Like actually pretty good, not just like Colorado pretty good. But yeah. Anyway, we need a food stream. I'm gonna call this one.
Yep.
Here. All right. Thank you both for coming on. Does anybody like? Do you want to play us out, Paulin?
I just got a ensemble thing going. I was just going to experiment with, but I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
play
us
us out.
like 30 seconds to a minute.
But how am I going to get my sound onto that? It's just going to be over the microphone.
I don't know. I can play us out if that's simpler.
Hold on. Let's see. Wait a minute. Can I adjust my audio? Yeah, I can do my audio into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you.